everyone, and welcome into Yelling from the Couch. I'm Brent Humphreys, and joined with me today on the show is Joey Mullins. Joey, how you doing today, man?
Doing pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Ready to sit here and talk a little sports for the last week here, and look forward to a few games today and tomorrow. Should be a good weekend of games. Ready to get started, man?
Yeah, man. I'm ready.
All right, man. On this show here, we like to start off with the best thing we saw from the week and the worst thing we saw from the week. Joey, I will let you go ahead first. Go ahead and give me your best or your worst, whichever one you want to go. You have the floor.
I'll go ahead and start out with the worst. The worst thing this week, unfortunately for me, was Carolina losing to Virginia. That was a pretty disappointing loss. I was a little upset about it. Carolina had a lot to play for. Obviously, Virginia didn't have a lot to play for, but that's the kind of games you lose when you have a team that don't really have anything to play for. You're going to get their best shot. Carolina just blew it. Jake May threw for 347, but, none of that matters if you can't close the game out. The fourth quarter hurt. And, but yeah, that was my worst thing I saw this week.
Yeah, just a bad performance by Carolina last week. Everybody got their stats, seems like, but in the long run, they just couldn't do anything on defense with a bad Virginia team. Just a bad loss for them. And, like I said, like our preview of the college football games this week, Carolina had everything in front of them to make a run to the playoff, and just a loss like that at home this late in the season. And the worst thing may have been that they were playing on the CW network, so it was kind of hard to find that game, But just a bad loss for them there, and they were top 10, and now they're 17th, but playoff hopes, I believe, have been dashed in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't found the game. I'm glad people didn't find it. It was for me. It was embarrassing. You're that good all year long, and it's a game you're expected to win. Those are the games that usually scare me the most. Games that you get overconfident. We got a team coming in 2-5. They're terrible. They got too relaxed, and they just let it get out of hand in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So since you went worst of the week first on yours, I will go ahead and I will give my worst of the week as well. To start, we'll just start this show off really negative then, since we started that way. But hey, it happens sometimes. My worst of the week, my Cincinnati Bengals, your Cincinnati Bengals, Joey, they were off this past week, but everybody else in the division played. Everybody else in the division won. So it was kind of like a little loss for the Bengals this week, with the Steelers winning, the Browns coming back miraculously somehow and winning by 1 against Indy. But the one that is the worst of the week is the Baltimore Ravens, just absolutely destroying the Detroit Lions, beating them 38-6. The Lions had all this hype and this high-powered offense, and they're fun, and they got a fun coach, and they're going to be contenders to win the NFC this year. And they go out and they just lay an egg against the Ravens and just couldn't do anything. And Baltimore did whatever they wanted to with them. Got to put up a better effort like that if you're Detroit, especially if you want to be taken serious, because now nobody's going to take you serious because they seen what Baltimore did to you there. Just an awful performance. That is my worst thing of the week, is the Detroit Lions no showing in Baltimore last week.
Yeah, that was – they started off – the first 3 quarters, no points. It's hard to start off any NFL game if you go 2 and 3 quarters without scoring a point. It was absolute atrocious. I've watched a little bit of it, and I was just like, no, this is I got to find something else. It was terrible. I mean, Lamar Jackson, I mean, he threw for 357, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. I mean, he had his way, had all the time he needed, could do whatever he wanted to do. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, brutal, especially, like Baltimore is our in division rival, and to see them just absolutely dominate a team that's leading their division on the other side is like, oh man, that's kind of a loss for the Bengals there, even on their bye week to see that. But
yeah, it is.
Since we went negative, now we'll get a little positive up in this podcast. And Joey, go ahead and give me your best thing that you saw from the past week.
Well, the best thing I saw and was the Diamondbacks going to the World Series, being down 2-0 in the championship series, and then coming back, storming back on the road. Their back's been against the wall pretty much all playoffs. I think they're the third team, I think, that has the fewest wins to be in the World Series. Their backs are against the wall. They had everything against them. But when you got a Ketel Marte and a Corbin Carroll, anything can happen. And those two guys are absolute monsters. They put the ball in play. They don't try to swing for the fence every time. They know how important it is. In baseball, to me, it's more important just put the ball in play. I mean, home runs are great, but just put the ball in play. Get some base runners on, give your team a chance. And they did it. They're in the World Series. Last night, Garcia with the walk-off. I really thought they were going to jump out to a 1-0 lead. But I'm actually kind of pulling for the Diamondbacks. They, I don't have nothing against either team. Texas I don't have nothing against them either, but I don't know. I'm just pulling for the underdog in this one. I thought they were going to jump out to a 1-0 lead, but Garcia had other plans.
So, yeah, Arizona, they were down, 2-0, and then they were down 3-2 heading back to Philly. And for them to win the next 2 games in Philadelphia to advance to the World Series is very impressive, and it shows what kind of a heart this team's got for Arizona to come back from that like that in a road environment. Like, the Philly fans are crazy, and they pretty much just shut them up and head on to the World Series now. So that was your best. My best. I'm going to stick with baseball too, but I'm going to go to the other division, the other league, the American League. And since my other co-host, Gene, is a big Texas Rangers fan, my best of the week is that the Texas Rangers also came back from being down 3-2 in Houston, and they come back and they go to the World Series after beating the Houston Astros, being down 3-2 and putting Dusty Baker in retirement, and not only beating them 3-2, or not only beating them coming down from 3-2. In Game 6, they beat them down 9-2, and they beat them down 11-4. Neither game was close. Texas just dominated both of them games, earning the spot in the World Series. And like you said, I don't have anything against either team. Either one would be fine with me if they won. Texas last night with Garcia hitting that walk-off home run. The guy's just built for big moments. Corey Seager blasting that 2-run bomb. Diamondbacks had a 5-3 lead in the bottom of the ninth, bringing their closer who hadn't blown a save all postseason, and he blows his first save with Seager hitting a home run, and then Garcia walking it off in the 11th. This should be a fun series. I think a lot of games are going to end up like that one right there. But that is my best of the week, is the Texas Rangers coming back. Kind of a similar path for both teams there. But, the opposite was that the Texas Rangers was up 2-0 and then fell to 3-2. The Diamondbacks were down 0-2, fell to 3-2, but they both made it in with 2 straight wins. This should be a fun series. Arizona, they only had 2 more wins. The Reds only finished 2 games behind them. So, I mean, this could be our Cincinnati Reds in that position right there.
I know I thought about that last night. I was like, man, what could have been? Yeah, I mean, Garcia, you said it best, man. He is built for moments like that right there. It's in his DNA. Like, when his back's against the wall and he steps up and he needs to do something, and even 2 strikes, that's when he's most dangerous. And I said it before he went to the plate. They was changing pitchers and it was on commercial, and I'm like, I got a bad feeling for the Diamondbacks right here, where Garcia's stepping up to the plate, game tied, bottom of the 11th. I mean, this has got disaster wrote all over it for the Diamondbacks, and sure enough, he took care of business. I mean, he's wired for it, man. He loves it.
And they play again tonight, 8:03 on Fox.
Yeah.
Should be a good matchup. Merrill Kelly for the Diamondbacks is pitching, and Jordan Montgomery for the Rangers. This is going to be a fun series. Can't wait to watch it again tonight.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of extra innings in this series. This ain't going to be the only time it goes to extras.
I can't help but thinking with some of these players, some of these pitches, if our Reds were in this, they probably wouldn't have made it as far, because there's some pitches that are in the dirt, and we know Ellie De La Cruz would go after every pitch in the dirt and just watch the ones that go right over the plate, right past him.
Yeah, he's got a bad habit for that, and and he's young. He's young. He's got to learn. He's got to develop, grow. He needs that Joey Votto eye at the plate to know what to swing at and what not to. And that was my point when I said the Diamondbacks just know how to put the ball in play. Ellie De La Cruz, I mean, he's electrifying, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I think he swings for the fences every time he swings the bat. And I know in baseball, obviously, it's good to hit it over the fence, home run, but at the same time, you got to understand it's a game of runs within the game. I mean, you got to have base runners. I mean, you got to just try to put the ball in play to give yourself a chance. And he strikes out a lot. He does swing at some questionable pitches, but I think he'll come out of that.
Yeah, for sure. I think he'll just improve. Right now, he's just a rookie, just getting back up there. But I can just help thinking that watching that game and I'm sure Ellie probably would have just chased that and wouldn't have made it very far in the playoffs with that kind of swinging. But that's how it goes. Should be a fun World Series, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, man.
So last week, our Cincinnati Bengals were off. They had a bye week. Also, another team we like to talk about on here quite a bit, the Dallas week. So, that's Gene's team. He's a Dallas Cowboys fan. So not really a whole lot to talk about last week for our teams. But there were some good games on last Sunday. And for games that were all under last week, there were some overs. Now, one of the over-unders was 51.5, the Miami Dolphins and the Philadelphia Eagles. That one was like, all right, that's definitely getting the over. It did not. It got 48. The game, the Eagles end up winning 31-17, and what was a great game all the way up until the end. The Eagles got right back on track after their loss to the Jets, and the Dolphins fell for the second time this season. What did you think about that game, Joey? The Eagles and the Dolphins. A fun game, wasn't it?
It was an absolute fun game to watch. I watched the whole game. I enjoyed it. Miami had some lapses there in the fourth quarter. They put up a goose egg in the fourth, and obviously that wasn't the only difference. But I mean, you think about it: first quarter 3-3, third quarter 7-7. Then you got the second quarter, they got outscored by a touchdown, and then a touchdown in the fourth quarter. So Tua had some lapses. But yeah, overall, man, it was a fun game. I kind of figured Jalen Hurts would right the ship and get back on track, and I mean, he threw a pick, but he's AJ Brown was magnificent. AJ Brown was he was the star. Uh, he had 137 yards on 10 receptions. I mean, he carried the load in receiving. So, but yeah, it was a great game. It was fun to watch.
And there was a couple of big drops by Tyreek Hill, but one of the plays towards the end of the game, there was a few minutes left. Miami has the ball 4th and 10. They have one play to get a first down to extend this drive to keep them alive in the game. And the play call they call is baffling. They throw a little, route to Tyreek Hill, 5 yards. 5 yards. So, and he doesn't catch it. It gets knocked down. But even if he catches it, he's still got 5 more yards to go to get the first down. Why not throw the ball past the sticks to make sure that you do have that first down and then keep going after that? That is some of the dumbest play calling I see from week to week in the NFL and college football. I don't know if they're thinking maybe we give the ball to our playmakers, they make a play and make the defender miss. Why not just throw it past the sticks and then have your playmakers make a play that way? That makes more sense to me than what they did that day. I didn't have a dog in the fight. I really don't care about either one of the teams, but that is just so frustrating to see week after week. You need 10 yards, we'll go 6, or we'll go 7, or we'll go 5, or we'll go 3. And it's like, no, what are we doing here? Get the first down, then run your little plays after that.
Yeah, it blew my mind too. I mean, like I said, I would almost just rather take a shot in the end zone as throw. Basically, you're throwing a negative yardage play because you need 10 yards. So, I understand Tyreek Hill is a playmaker, but if you've got, if say the time and score was to where you had 3 shots at a first down, okay, then yeah, maybe once you throw him the ball in space, see if he can make a guy miss, make the first down. But you virtually have 1 shot at getting the first down. So there was no reason why not to throw the ball past the sticks and give somebody a chance to catch it. It didn't even have to be Tyreek Hill. Could have been anybody. Just you needed the first down. So it really does make you question some of these OCs for the NFL. Like, I don't know what they're thinking or if it blows my mind. I mean, you've got to be better than that.
Yeah, it's just baffling. It's every week. It's not just last week. It's every week. So another game last Monday that was shocking is the San Francisco 49ers falling to the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. Minnesota was 2-4 going into the game. San Francisco was 5-1. San Francisco looked absolutely unbeatable a couple of weeks ago, and now they've dropped 2 straight. Kirk Cousins had that fire in him. You could tell that he was fired up, ready to go the other day. He was intense. And I think he's found a backup receiver with Justin Jefferson out. He may have found a number 1 while he's not playing. Jordan Addison emerging last week with 7 receptions, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and was just an absolute stud for the Minnesota Vikings. Christian McCaffrey also scored a touchdown for 49ers, extending his streak to 16 straight games with a touchdown. Man, that was kind of a fun game to watch there as well, but not the outcome that I thought that it was going to be in this game, Joey.
No, me neither. I certainly did not expect Jordan Addison to come out and have a game like that. I mean, you expect him to have a decent game, but I mean, and then Kirk Cousins throwing for 378 and Brock Purdy only throwing for 272. They both threw a pick. No, Purdy threw 2 picks. Pardon me. But yeah, and McCaffrey had 15 carries for only 45 yards. For me, for a player of his stature, that's a little low. If you get 15 carries, you'd think you'd be in the 80s and 90s, over 100 yards. But that's just a credit to Minnesota's defense that game. They kind of held him in check. I mean, he only got 45 yards. If you tell me that after the game that McCaffrey's going to have 45 yards receiving, I like my chances to win. And George Kittle, he had a kind of a subpar game, 78 yards, 5 receptions. it wasn't expected. Let's put it that way.
It definitely wasn't. And, if, Alexander Madison would have got one more catch, I mean, it would have been huge for a certain amount of people. Am I right on that,
Yes,
Joey?
it would have. Yes, it would have. It would have been absolutely huge. That was
Don't mean to open up old wounds there, but yeah, that would have been very huge for some people on certain websites.
yeah, that one hurt. He's got 2 receptions. If he'd have had 3, then that would have probably been my best thing of the week if he would have got 3.
No doubt. Joey had a big parlay bet there that included catches, and if it would have hit, it would have been a significant payout. And he was one catch shy. Just brutal.
And had a whole quarter to do it is what made it worse.
And other people needed Brock Purdy to throw one more touchdown, and they would have had a significant payout. So that game was just frustrating on all accounts. But speaking of the San Francisco 49ers, while we're there, we're going to talk about this week's matchup. The Cincinnati Bengals travel to San Francisco to face the San Francisco 49ers. Joey, did you say you had the spread on that now? It was 4.5, but I believe it's been bet up to 5.
Yeah, it's 5. And then
San Francisco.
Yes, and I'm just got some news earlier. Purdy could clear protocol in time to start. So he's not completely ruled out. He could start if he clears protocol in time. And they're saying there is time left, just depending on how, I guess, the testing and stuff goes.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure how the protocol works on concussions, but that just popped up Wednesday that he was, in concussion protocol, and then they said that he was doubtful, and so now I guess they're saying that he may play. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing there. If you're a Bengals fan, it's going to be hard to win out there in San Francisco. San Francisco will be without Debo. He is out. And if I'd rather face Sam Darnold than I would Brock Purdy, if I'm the Bengals. But none of that should really matter if the Bengals go out and they get their offense going, get that, chemistry that they started to get with Burrow and Chase. If he can get Higgins involved more, Mixon going, get some points on this board. I mean, they haven't scored over 20. I don't know if they scored over 20 all year, maybe once against Arizona. And aside from that, they've been under 20. I guess they scored 24 against the Ravens, but that was a loss. But you got to get it going. You got to get this offense going. Like I said, it really won't matter who San Francisco throws out there. I trust the defense, but I need to trust the offense as well. Hopefully they'll get it right this Sunday in San Francisco.
Yeah, the defense, I think, has done a lot of carrying the load so far for Cincinnati. Taylor Britt's been phenomenal. But, yeah, the offense has got to get it going. And I was reading here, Purdy, he will try to pass the final step on Saturday. And if he passes, they're saying he will start. So I guess that's the news kind of hung up in the air. So I guess we won't know until later on today if he'll start. Either way, if he starts, if he don't start, like you said, the offense has got to get it together and get going, put some points on the board, take care of the ball. Burrow's got to make good decisions. He's got to get the ball out a little quicker. He can't. When you got protection, you've got to get the ball out quick. These are grown men. These are big boys, man. They're coming after you. It's not a college or a high school game. You got to make quick decisions, get the ball out, and make the right decisions.
And Burrow, he's had an extra week now to get his calf healthy. He said it was feeling great the week before the bye week. So one can only think that if it was good before the bye week, and he's had that whole extra week of rest on it, he should be good to go, and we should get the old Joe Burrow from last year and the year before. The one thing about it is, every year the Bengals get off to a slow start, it seems like. That means that they really don't care about these first couple of weeks of the NFL season. So if they can get a win over San Francisco in an upset, it goes to show if we're Bengals fans, we might not even want to turn into week 3 or 4 next year.
Yeah.
Just get completely out of it.
Just basically. That season don't even start until like week 4.
So College Game Day's on right now, and they are picking tonight's matchup between the Tennessee Volunteers, which I have already made my opinions well known about Tennessee Volunteers on this podcast on our college football preview yesterday. They're 4-point favorites over my Kentucky Wildcats. So far, Desmond, Pat McAfee, and Steve Smith all picked Tennessee. Herbie, he just picked Kentucky. Herbie's the man right now. Anyways, so that game tonight.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. So Tennessee's a 4-point favorite. We kind of touched on it here a little bit, like I said, on our college football preview, but we're going to touch on it again here. Tennessee has dominated Kentucky for the past few decades.
Yeah.
They fell last week to Alabama. Tennessee did, and Tennessee thought they had the game won at halftime. But there was a second half to play. I mean, it was 20-7, and Alabama come out and just blanked them in the second half. Tennessee also lost to Florida this year, like 29-16, and Kentucky dominated Florida. I don't know how this game's going to go. I really hope Kentucky wins it. I think Kentucky can win it, but it's Tennessee, and I don't know if they'll, if that gets into their brains. Hey, that's Tennessee. You know how sometimes you go up against teams and you are like, oh well, I don't know if we can beat this team. I think that's how Kentucky is with Tennessee. They got like this mental block that even if they are the better team than Tennessee, they lose to them because they play down to that level because they've already been defeated in their minds. Ray Davis has to have a good game today. You got to keep the ball in Ray Davis's hands, let him run some clock, keep the ball out of Tennessee's high-powered offense with Joe Milton and them. And an interesting name here for Tennessee. Their leading receiver. You know their leading receiver, Joey, for Tennessee? His name is Squirrel White.
Squirrel White, yeah.
Squirrel White, 416 yards. Look, I don't know anything about him, but I like that guy, even though he plays for Tennessee. Anybody that names Squirrel, I like that guy. He's got to be fast, right?
He's got to be.
He's got to be.
Has to be. You can't have a name like that and not be fast. And that's.
He's only scored 1 touchdown this year, but hopefully he don't get his second tonight against Kentucky. I would like to see, like you said, you were kind of leery of Leary, no pun intended, but he's got to be more on target with his receivers when they do pass the ball. He's just been very inaccurate. The receivers have made some drops too, but he hasn't given them a whole lot to catch either with it. Sometimes he looks great. Sometimes he looks like me throwing a football out there when I was in 6th grade or something. But he's got to get going. Ray Davis, like I said, keep it on the ground, keep that clock moving. Let's make this a fast game. Let's get out of there with the win.
Yeah, absolutely. With a guy like Ray Davis, man, there shouldn't be no excuse why you can't hang around in a game. So.
Yeah, absolutely not. So another game that we'll talk about here. It's the big Sunday night game. A huge matchup this Sunday on the NFL slate. The Chicago Bears travel to L.A. to face the L.A. Chargers. What a matchup. For Sunday night football right there, I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean, we're not talking about that. That is horrible. Horrible Sunday night game. There's also a horrible Monday night game as well. Just an awful. So the NFL slate this Sunday, man, is not the best. I mean, looking at it here, I'm trying to go through and see which ones really intrigue me. And there's not really many. I mean, Bengals, Niners is probably the best game of the week right there on paper. and they've got that as a 5-point spread. Browns Seahawks. I mean, I guess that could be fun. But the rest of these, man, they're brutal. Brutal schedule in the NFL this week.
They are. Well, at least in week 9, Cincinnati plays Buffalo at home on the Sunday night game. So,
and see, what worries me here on this one. Sunday night game, Bills Bengals. Last time Buffalo was in Cincinnati, the game was halted due to the DeMar Hamlin situation. The last time the Bills played on was it Sunday night the week before with the Giants? They halted the game for a little bit because Damian Harris had a serious injury, which I guess he's going to be fine. But this one, I hope this game goes a little bit better than it did last time they played there. We'll talk more about that one next week. But, week 9 looks a lot better. I mean, you got Cowboys, Eagles,
Yeah. This week's pretty slow. Pretty slow on the night games this week.
You got Dolphins, Chiefs next week, early in the morning. So, I mean, there's a lot of good games. I mean, a few good games next week. There's not very many good games this week. I mean, just not at all.
No, this week's matchups are kind of hit and miss. I mean, there's, like you said, a couple, maybe 3 good games. But just to touch on one thing real quick, did you see the Bengals, Orlando Brown? He's suffering a growing injury, and he's only missed 1 game his whole 6-year career, and he's going to play. So I thought that was pretty significant that he was going to play because he's a pretty big piece. So.
Yeah, coming over from the Chiefs, they definitely need him out there to block for Burrow's blind side there.
Yep.
So games today on the football end, Oregon-Utah is probably the biggest game and should be the most exciting game there. Oregon just dominates this 3:30 slot. Like the last three weeks, I'm pretty sure they played at 3:30. And all the games have lived up to the hype. Be interested to see that one. There's more exciting, more competitive looking football games on today than there is tomorrow, for sure.
Absolutely.
And so this past week, we've hit on football, we've hit on baseball. Now, let's hit on a little NBA basketball. The NBA kickoff happened this past Tuesday night. First 2 games of the season was a banner night for the Denver Nuggets as they hosted the LA Lakers. Denver ended up winning that game 119-107, and then the Suns defeated the Warriors in the nightcap 108-104. Joey, are you excited to have NBA basketball back on the TV?
Yes, I'm excited for any basketball. The NBA looks a lot different this year. There's a lot of trades, a lot of new faces on teams, new coaches, new rules in the NBA. All kinds of stuff to dig into with the NBA. That's in the in-season tournament they're having this year. I mean, they've definitely put all the stuff in the NBA jar and shook it up. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm intrigued by that in-season tournament this year. Every team will be a part of it. It happens November 14th. I'm down for any preseason tournament, any postseason tournament. It shakes things up, like you said, and makes things fun. I think, you get a mid-season champion and be like, all right, they got their chest puffed out. Let's see how they do when it comes to the actual playoffs, is this a single elimination tournament, or how is it working? Do you know how the ins and outs of this are?
I don't know all for sure yet. I know they're playing, I think, in different rounds, and then you got like groups, and then you got winners of each round. They keep advancing, and it said, there will be one sole winner of the whole thing. So, but where all the teams are in it, I think it's going to be like a pool type play. It's going to be interesting either way because like the NBA has never done nothing like that before.
No, definitely not. Another topic here on the NBA. The next night, the number 1 overall pick, Victor Wembanyama, or I think I said that right. Man, I probably didn't. Wemby. His debut, and the guy is huge, and he's going to be a star in this league. I'm pretty sure of it. Ran into a little bit of foul trouble, looked a little awkward out there at times, but you can see the potential in this guy. If he gets that playing time, last night I'm pretty sure he had a bigger game. But are you excited to see Wemby this season, Joey?
Yeah, he's definitely got an upside. He's like you said, he's got some stuff to figure out. Where he's tall, lanky, got a lot of length. You know, where he's not used to playing here. You know, he's got a lot to figure out with the flow of the game, how the game's called. But yeah, he'll figure it out, and I think he'll get it going. He's going to be a beast, man. Once he figures it out, I mean, look out. Like last night, you know, he went 0 for 6 from 3, but he had 21 points and 12 rebounds. So that's his first official double-double in his NBA career. So
yeah, excited to see where it takes him for the rest of his career. One of the most exciting games of the past week of the NBA had to be the Philadelphia 76ers against the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee wins by 1. And Philadelphia is without James Harden. He's holding out because him and the GM just absolutely hate each other's guts, apparently. He wants traded. But Tyrese Maxey scoring 31 points, a Kentucky boy right there, leading his team in 31 points and losing effort. Kelly Oubre had 27 in that game for 76ers. But on the other side, Milwaukee, Giannis had 23 points, but their big key acquisition for the season in a trade with the Trailblazers, Dame time in Milwaukee, Damian Lillard had 39 points for the Bucks in an impressive debut for his new team. This team right here, the Bucks, they may be the favorites to win the championship if those two play like they are. And you throw in Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton. Man, what do you think about the Bucks and that exciting game the other day, Joey?
well, as soon as I heard the blockbuster trade happen, I would have liked to have been on the looked at the odds of what Vegas had for the Bucks to win the championship before that trade and see what they changed to, because they're definitely the odds-on favorite. These two get along good together. I watched an interview with them on TV of each other. They each wanted to play with each other. They've been talking about it for a while before they even made the trade. So the chemistry is already there. They're dangerous, man. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs if they're even going to be put out. As long as no injuries happen, I think they're going to be the one to win it, in my opinion. I mean, I know it's early in the season. I know people say, oh, you can't say that yet. But, I mean, and then another thing, you look at that 76ers game and you look at Chris Middleton's stat line. All right, he went 2 for 5 shooting from the floor, 1 for 3 from the three-point line. So if you look at those stats and you look across and you're like, oh my God, he only had 6 points, and 3 rebounds. But his plus minus was a plus 14. So you think about that, like you get a lot of these guys that they're role players. They know what they're supposed to do on the team. They know they're not going to go out and get 30 a night. But he's plus 14. So he's just one of them role players, man. You mix him in there, like I said, with Lillard and Lopez. I mean, it's a dangerous, dangerous combination.
Yeah, for sure. Milwaukee, like we said, they're pretty much the odds-on favorite right now to win it all. And Middleton, like you said, he hasn't even got like point-wise and stuff, but his plus minus was plus 15. That's with him in the game, that just shows what kind of a team they are.
Yeah, he had the highest plus minus on the team in the whole game. So I mean, that's
yeah. sticking with the NBA here, LeBron James, is he still a top 5 player in the NBA?
Yeah. I mean, I would say top 5. I mean, I'm not what you would really call a LeBron fan, but I'm also a basketball fan. You know, been around it since I was 8 years old. Now, I give credit where credit's due. I mean, the man can play the game. Not so much good anymore as he can. The Lakers actually have him on restricted minutes. I guess, you know, his age, you know, body. And so, yeah, and that's why they got he overruled it the other night when I think it was last night when the game was on the line. He put himself back in, and they ultimately end up winning the game. But yeah, I would say he's a top 5 player. If I had to rank him, I would say he would probably be number 5 in my book.
I want to be a hater so bad. The other night, I'm pretty sure we had a conversation, and I was like, LeBron, he's lost it. He's fell off. He's not the same player he was. He's just going to be a role player on this team. And then his plus minus in their win over Phoenix was plus 22, and he had 21 points, and he had 21 points against Denver too. And then I'm like, I guess I kind of got to eat them words there. For the guy who is, you know, how old is he? 39, 30,
Yeah,
almost 30,
38.
30, yeah, almost 39. And for him to still be playing at this kind of a level, yeah, it's impressive. I mean, he's a great player. He's been a great player for a long time. Just not a big fan of his, but got to give credit where credit's due. Got to give respect to LeBron. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, and he's still out there doing it. He's not the best player on the Lakers. That's Anthony Davis. As long as he's not in street clothes out on the sidelines, you know, LeBron is still a very good contributor to that team.
He just brings I just think he brings a lot of experience, you know, with being at the Cavaliers, not having no support as far as players on the floor, being in crunch time situations, you know, he brings a lot of experience to the team. So just his presence on the floor sometimes, you know, it just makes an impact.
Oh yeah, for sure. So now we'll close out here. We will touch on a little bit of college basketball this next week. Like I said, me and you will get on here and we'll do a podcast where we will preview college basketball for the upcoming season. Can't wait for college basketball to get started. Last night, preseason matchup, our Kentucky Wildcats, Joey, number 16 in the preseason polls, defeated the Georgetown College Tigers. I'm kidding about Joey being our Wildcats. He is a Tar Heel fan. Kentucky wins the game 92-69. They were led by Trey Mitchell with 22 points, 9 rebounds. I'll be honest, I did not watch any of this game, but it's an exhibition. I don't really hope I will catch the replay on it. I'll watch it just to, you know, see how they played, see what it looked like. Their next game's Kentucky State. Not really much to say about it. Just, you know, wanted to touch on it real quick here. They open up November the 6th. Joey, did you catch any of that game? I know there was a lot going on last night.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that one. You talking about the Kentucky exhibition game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to catch any of that one. I was watching a different exhibition game, but yeah, Kentucky. I told you, man, they're going to have a good year. It's going to be a good year for them. They're due a good year. I've watched some video of them, some practice video, and their team continuity is a lot better this year. Their players look like they're happy, they get along, so that goes a long way in college basketball.
And right now, Kentucky's got 3 7-footers that are out and haven't played yet, so you really can't get a grasp of what this team's going to look like right now with those 3 guys out until they get to playing. But, 92-69, you just won the game. It's whatever, no big win or anything like that. It's just an exhibition.
Yeah.
The other exhibition, we'll go ahead and touch on it since we're here. You're a Carolina fan. We'll talk some Carolina sports on here. North Carolina had their exhibition last night in Chapel Hill against St. Augustine's. Where's St. Augustine's from? You have any idea?
I don't right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't either. I have no idea. I know Georgetown's in Kentucky. I know that. So I know
Yeah.
where our opponent plays. Anyway, Carolina ended up winning the game 117-53, absolute dominating the team, which is what you would expect in an exhibition. Did any of the big guys play? RJ Davis had 22, looks like. Baycott had 13. You got everybody back just about, except for wasn't there a guy that transferred to Arizona or Arizona State?
Yeah, Caleb Love. He transferred to Arizona.
Tried to transfer to Michigan and he get kicked out up there. Or they didn't accept him or something like that.
Something with his college credits, like it wouldn't go. They wouldn't approve it or something other. And he ended up transferring to Arizona, which he'll be successful there. I'm not holding it against him. You know, with Elliott Cadu coming in, you know, and we got all these transfers, Creighton Lebo, Zayden High, you know, we got all these guys now. And Caleb Love just didn't fit with the team anymore. And when I say fit with the team, I mainly mean off the floor. You know, there was a lot of off the court things that went on last year. And as you know, in college basketball, they're kids. So off the court stuff spills over to on the court stuff. So, but yeah, he'll do fine. But Carolina looked pretty good last night. I mean, I know it's just an exhibition. You can't really look at one exhibition game and say that, you know, we're going to win it all. But it was just good to see them play. Good to see a college basketball game on TV.
Yeah, and St. Augustine's, they're in Raleigh, North Carolina. And, you know, you was talking about the chemistry. I think that was part of the problem last year with Kentucky and Oscar. I don't think he got along with some of his teammates, and that was an issue. And that's what kind of caused Kentucky's downfall for the most part. If you don't get along with your teammates on and off the court, it is really hard to build chemistry together. You've got to at least like your teammates. I mean, you know, you don't have to love them, but you got to at least have some sort of like there to where you can gel with them. Because if not, I mean, it is hard to play with somebody that you don't like, you know.
Yeah, it is definitely. And I think there's a guy that transferred in from Carolina that everybody's overlooking and who's really going to put Carolina over the top. And what they missed from last year was good 3-point shooting. And Cormac Ryan transferred from Notre Dame, and the dude can flat fill it up. I was just looking here because, like I said, I didn't keep up with him a lot last year where he didn't play for Carolina. But, you know, his last 4 games in the ACC tournament, he put up 14, 12, 20, and 19. I mean, he's a sharpshooter, and I think that's really going to help Carolina because we missed a lot of that last year. You needed a pure shooter on the floor. So, but yeah, you have to get along with your players. You got to have team continuity and coaching. You know, coaches, players, training staff. It's all one big group, and everybody has to get along for everything to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, we'll sit here and enjoy some football this weekend, and next weekend we'll come on here and we'll review the games and we'll preview some games, and we'll just see how everything goes. Right now, our parlay for our pick that we had yesterday is not starting out the best with Kansas up 7-0 on Oklahoma early here. Let's just hope that Kansas doesn't piss all over our parlay like we've had a few times this week, and hopefully we can hit for the podcast yesterday.
Yeah, we've overall done really good with our parlays, but yeah, there's definitely been a few that just go completely south when they're not supposed to. But I think Oklahoma will figure it out.
Well, man, thank you for joining me here on the podcast this week. just touch on different topics, everything in this one here. You got anything else you want to touch on, Joey, before we hop off here?
No, it's been fun, man. I appreciate you having me. I enjoy it. Look forward to some more. Getting up here with you and doing some yelling from the couch, man. I love it.
Oh yeah, man. So like I said, we'll have a college basketball preview and we'll do our pick'ems next week for college football, and we'll see you in the next one, man. Later.
All right, man. Have a good one.